So today, it is time to revisit Phoenix Duels. You may have seen me cover it here on the channel before. That was already more than 3 years ago, and since then, a lot of stuff has changed. The plugin split into two separate plugins for a while, then they were remerged, and they added a brand new add-on system. Me and my team used it a while back during a PvP livestream here on the channel, and that made us realize there is so much more functionality now that I should definitely cover it again. Now, even though it has been 3 long years since I made that video, Phoenix Plugins is still an official partner of the Kasasora channel, which means that if you decide to purchase Phoenix Duels, any other of their plugins, or some of their add-ons, you can use code Kasasora at checkout to save a whole 15% off of your total order, which of course will also help me out along the way. It's a great way to support the channel, so consider checking them out. But now let me show you what Phoenix Duels is all about in the big 2026. Do double check if you're a sub to the channel, I would appreciate it so much. So after getting Phoenix Duels, you simply want to drag it into the plugins folder of your Minecraft server and then make sure to reboot it. After that, back in game, the main command you're gonna be using is /pduelseditor. Essentially, every single setting related to Phoenix Duels can be found here. Now the nice thing about the Phoenix Duels editor is that it basically guides you through the entire setup process. But the two main parts of this plugin are definitely the maps and the modes. So a map is essentially an arena or multiple arenas. It's essentially places where people can fight in. And then you got the modes, which are basically just the game modes, or arena modes like they called it. Now when setting up a map, you can decide what type of game modes can be played inside of there, and you can of course also decide what game modes can be played on the server in the first place. So when we go and click on maps, we can over here create a brand new one. First you have to choose between a free mode and a grid mode. Now a free mode is basically the manual mode, where you can create a map by defining all the locations yourself. There's also a grid mode, which allows you to automatically create arenas based on some parameters you set. May sound a bit vague, but let me show you what it's about. So we're definitely gonna go for grid mode. And the first thing we're gonna do is define the universal region. So this is the entire region, not just the region where people fight in, but also the region you just want to have protected. So in my case, I downloaded this map, also from Phoenix Plugins. You can check it out on their website. We got multiple maps here. This is the one I want to be using though. So I'm gonna left click here at the bottom, just like that. And now we want to fly all the way to the other side. Then I'm simply gonna go up so that I'm above everything that has been built here. And then we're simply gonna right click. That's the whole universal region. After that, we want to select the battle region. Right now, it's the same as the universal region. But if you have a smaller area that you actually fight in, you want to define that separately. So in my case, this is where people should fight. I'm gonna left click over here, and then I'm gonna right click over here. Now after that, you need to define your team positions. Now right now, there are 4 teams available: red, blue, green, and yellow. But green and yellow are optional. Red and blue are mandatory though, and don't be put off by the name. Even if you just do a 1v1, internally, one of you guys will be team blue and the other one will be team red. So let's define team red. We're gonna add a location. We're gonna stand here, sneak, left click, just like that. And then we're gonna do the same thing for team blue. And just for fun, let's also define the other 2 positions. So maybe one over here, and then it's team yellow's turn on the other side. There we go. Now you can also set up an FFA position if you want, in case you want the ability to play FFA game modes inside of this map. Now the map we're in right now is not really an FFA map, but you could totally use it for one. So I'm simply gonna do it. I'm gonna add a location, and let's just put it in the center. Spectator position is also something you can specify. I think it makes total sense to have that inside of the arena, but outside of the actual fighting area. So let's set it up here. There we go. After that, we're gonna create a template, and now it's time to prepare the grid. Now over here, you can specify the rest of this grid system. So how much space should there be between the arenas? And also, how many arenas should be created among the X and Y axis? I think 5 makes sense. So let's just go and generate the grid, and this will then start duplicating this arena. And now we wait. And there we go! The grid generation has been completed, which means if we now fly into this direction, we over here now have another one of these arenas. It is the complete arena, just a copy of it, which means that now 2 matches can be going on at the same time. But if we continue on flying, you will find another one. There we go. And if we go to the editor and then back to maps, and after that we click on arenas, you can see that all 25 arenas are now here. This is the original one. The rest was all just generated by this grid system. Now, after creating maps and arenas, we of course need rules and game modes to play inside of these arenas. Going back to To Duel's editor, the second button here in the inventory is modes. You can see that we already have some here. For example, Crystal PvP, UHC, and also Soup. But when we click on add mode and we after that go to rules and we then add a rule, you will have the choice between a whole bunch of game modes. So these are rules and you can add multiple. One rule can for example be instant death occurs upon touching lava. That can be a rule that you want to add in your completely custom PvP game mode, where as soon as you touch lava you instantly die. But we can of course add more rules to make this an even more custom and higher stakes battle. For example, we can disable totems, giving everyone extra hearts, giving everyone extra damage. You can disable ender pearls and the list literally goes on. There is so much. Now you can see that there are some empty spots here. These are add-ons. And add-ons are essentially additional game modes that you can purchase if you want. One of them, for example, is TNT Run. So it essentially is a rule that makes it so TNT and sand disappears when you walk over it. Skywars is another one of these add-ons. The purchasing of add-ons is of course completely optional, but it is an additional way to support the plugin and keep it sustainable even in the far future. There are currently 3 completely free add-ons available though. Pillars of Fortune, which is an additional game mode. The Floor is Lava, which also is an additional game mode. And then there is Rematch and Requeue, which is a free add-on that adds commands for rematches and requeues. And of course, using code Casasora at checkout works for these purchases as well. But many new game modes have been added since the last time we checked this out. Fireball is an example. You can add a rule for damage indicators. You can turn on 1.8 PvP mechanics, which in my opinion is a big one. If you want to play 1.8 PvP on a modern Minecraft server, that is something you can totally do. Just play on the newest version with this setting turned on. And there is a lot more. There are so many different rules available, it's impossible to show them all off. But after fully creating a game mode, which includes choosing rules, but also a name, identifier, and what player types this mode can be played in, you get a completely finished up mode like this. Now you will see that 0 maps are linked right now. When we go back to maps, we can here click on allow modes, which then allows us to add a mode that we've created. For example, the classic mode, which will then make it so that this mode can be played inside of this arena. So because we have 25 maps, you can see that the classic mode can now be played in 25 maps, which is quite a bit. I would say time for a battle. So here we got my lovely alt bread shop and it's time for a little fight. I'm gonna do /duel bread shop, which will then allow me to choose a game mode, choose a map, choose the amount of rounds, and if we're betting any money. I'm simply gonna play classic and the map can be random. There's only one map we will end up in anyway. Then we're gonna send it, bread shop will accept it, and there we go. The scoreboard appears, the items appear in my inventory, and it is now time for a fight. Also, there's some chicken here, hello. But yeah, in the scoreboard you can see that we have 5 minutes left. Breadshop has all his health. You can see the motor playing. And you can also see that Breadshop is in team blue, while I am in team red. If you play a game mode that can be played with more people, they will spawn in those other positions which we set previously. But now it is just time for me to defeat my man Breadshop, which is gonna take a while. Breadshop, take off your armor. There we go. That will make it easier. Alright, I have won the duel. Let's freaking go. Now back in To Duel's editor, there is also a kits section, and this is where you can edit these kits. So we just played with all of these items, but you can of course just remove stuff from here or add new stuff if you want to customize this kit. For every single game mode you can create a new kit, but you don't have to. You can also choose to play with your player inventory. So if you don't have a dedicated PvP server, but instead a Minecraft survival server, and you want players to just fight with whatever items they got, that is something which you can do. Now, some other settings I think are definitely worth noting are, for example, the regeneration setting inside of maps. This one makes it so that an area will be regenerated after the match is over. So if you play something like Crystal PvP, which blows up the entire arena, by enabling this, it will make it so that everything gets set back to the original state when the match ends. Another pretty cool feature is auto-generate, which will make it so if there are no available arenas, it will make a temporary copy of the arena that players can play in, so that they don't have to wait until another match ends. This is pretty cool, but of course it will take some server resources to just duplicate an arena. So if you have the space in your world, I would definitely recommend the grid system instead, just so you won't have any lag issues during the game. Back editing the classic mode. Over here you can also completely edit the scoreboard if that's something you want to do. You know, the scoreboard that we just saw in game, you can completely customize that one. You can also choose if it should be publicly broadcasted if somebody starts a match. And you can even enable permissions if you want, meaning you can make it so that only certain players can play this classic game mode. Let's say you want to make a special game mode for a special rank, you can do that. Now, of course, this plugin also has parties, so when we type /party in chat, we're able to join parties that are available, currently none, or we can create a party of ourselves. When we do this, we're able to invite players, for example, Brad Shop, there we go, Brad Shop has been invited, and he has now accepted, there we go. When you've created a party, you can here at the bottom choose what you want your party to do. So, you can make a challenge party, which means that your party will challenge another one, so one team versus another. You can also do FFA, so the members of the party will fight each other, which means if you just want to free-for-all with a group of friends, then you can invite all of your friends to your party and then choose this option. You can also do team fights, which means that your party will be split into two, and those teams will then fight each other. Or you can do a multi-team fight, which means your party will be split in 4 different teams, who will then fight each other. So let's go for play free-for-all. After that, we just click on start match. Let's play classic again, and let's click on create match, and there we go. We're now playing free-for-all with the party, and it won't take long until I have defeated Brad Shop. Also, Brad Shop, why are you so laggy, my man? Are you good, bro? Brad Shop, take off your armor. There you go. That will make it a lot quicker. Nice! Now, I know I've already showed off a crazy lot, and there is so much more I've not even touched upon. But the video would be way too long if I would cover everything the plugin has to offer. Something I do quickly want to show is /duel history, which is a command that shows all of the duels that have taken place on this server. So you can see that currently there are 2. This was a classic game inside of this map. You can see the exact date, the exact time, and if you right click, you can even see a little inventory recap, which shows the health, the food, potion effects, and also what items they were holding. So if you suspect someone of somehow cheating, then this may be a way for you to find out. Here you can also see the other match, really handy stuff. You can also do /duel lost items, and this is a command that will show the items that were lost. Of course, not when you play a map with a pre-made kit, but if you play a map with your own kit and you then lose items, they will show up here. There's also a command to see ongoing matches. If you have a big PvP server, that can be very handy. And when you do /duel settings, over here you can of course also disable duel requests. If you don't want to get invites for duels, you can disable that for yourself. Same thing goes for party invites. Then lastly, 2 cool customization features are /kill effects, which will allow you to choose a kill effect. So when you do a duel and when you kill someone else, what effect should it play? You can see there are a bunch of different effects available that you can choose from. So that's definitely cool. And then there is also trims, which allows you to add trims to any piece of armor in the game. For example, netherite helmet, we can add any of these trims to it, so that every single time you play a duel, if you get a pre-made kit that has a netherite helmet, it will show up with your chosen trim. And that is gonna be it for today. Do make sure to sub to the channel, join my Discord. Thank you so much, channel members. And then I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. See you later. Bye bye.